Evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, 6th of December, and I was pretty close to not actually being able to film anything today. Had a very, very rough night last night. Not drinking, eating something that disagreed with me, felt awful, spent half the day in bed, just generally feeling rubbish, but has slowly but surely kind of come into normal humanity this afternoon. So I'm going to risk 2 tonight because I'm potentially doing another guest one tomorrow, so I need to get ahead of myself, otherwise I would have actually been behind, and I don't really want to do that. So last dram that I did was Tom and Tao with Vin PF from No Nonsense Whisky, and of the 2 I'm going to do tonight, I'm actually going to do the Old Ballantrae as well, but because I know this is peated, I'm actually going to do this one first, then do Old Ballantrae, but upload that one first, if that makes sense. Yeah, so this is 318, which is Speyburn. And this miniature was actually provided by the current owners of Speyburn Distillery, previously known as In the House, but they're now known as Interbev. Oh God, what was her name? The woman that got in touch with me out of the blue and just said, "We found out what you're doing, think it's a really good idea, can we send you some samples?" Whoever it was, whoever your name was, thank you very much for your kindness. So this is actually from them. So Speyburn is here, the distillery, and it actually started production in 1897. Now 1897 was the year of Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee, and the founding company, which was a company called John Hopkins and Co., a guy called John Hopkins with a couple of other business entrepreneurs, were absolutely determined that they were going to distill their first whiskey in the year of Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. They had a plan to start distilling on the 1st of November. That didn't work. And essentially, I think it was the 15th of December was their first distillation, and they hadn't even got around to putting windows and doors in the building. It was that close. But they managed to get essentially 1 cask's worth of whiskey completed on a rack, maturing within the year of 1897. So John Hopkins & Co. had already purchased the Tobermory distillery in 1890, so it wasn't like they were completely new to the market and the industry, and they actually managed to maintain it quite healthily until 1916, when it was acquired by DCL. Now during the First World War and also the Second World War, it ceased production. During the Second World War in particular, I think the distillery was home to 2 regiments, basically to put them up, and stayed with DCL, and then also another offshoot called SMD, Scottish Malt Distillers, both of which would become eventually Diageo. But it never fell into Diageo's hands. It, as when it became Diageo, because in 1991 Inverhouse purchased it. They'd already owned Knockdo, but this was before they ended up getting Balblair, Balmenach, and Old Pulteney. So this is part of their range. Now, interestingly, this is the miniature that I have, but this is a picture of what the bottle looks like. So I think it's a relatively recent labelling change, kind of a change in the look. So I think that's quite recent, because obviously this is one of the older labels, but it's not that old. You're looking at 31 quid at the Whisky Exchange and Master of Malt, so might be able to pick it up slightly cheaper if it was on a deal somewhere. It's 40%, and it's described as the most photographed distillery in Scotland. Now, there's obviously kind of no real way of measuring that, but if you put Speyburn Distillery into Google image search, this is one of the first pictures that comes up. So it's not hard to see why it would be up there, if not the most photographed, because it's absolutely gorgeous. Speyburn, Spey, the River Spey, Burn, it takes its water, it's the only distillery that takes its water from a source called the Granty Burn, which is a tributary which feeds into the River Spey. And it's very, very soft water, which they claim really goes towards the drinkability of the whiskey. Bourbon casks, as far as I am aware, apparently Vin and I got Tom and Tao casks completely wrong, but there's no surprise there, because we don't really know what we're talking about anyway. And that is about it. Now Speyburn's a bit of an odd one. I've never really come across it, and apparently it did, if it doesn't now, it did sell very well in America. More was shipped out. I knew that was going to happen. More was shipped out to America than is sold over here, or at least it was according to Malt Madness. So whether that's still the case or not, and there's quite a big market for it in America compared to the UK, because it's not massively prevalent. You won't find it everywhere. I certainly haven't seen it in the supermarket. I don't remember us selling it in the whiskey shop when I was working for them. But I'll be honest, I'm glad they've changed the packaging, because it's a bit dull. It's a bit ordinary, to be honest. Now, obviously what's inside the bottle is the most important thing, but that doesn't exactly jump out on a shelf amongst other whiskies as well. So, colouring, whether colouring has been added or not, I have absolutely no idea. It's on the lighter side, to be honest, so it's possible that they haven't, certainly. It's a nice kind of very pale golden hue, but it looks quite healthy and bright. There is a slight edge to it which suggests colouring may have been added, but it's kind of citrusy as well, but it's quite a fresh lemony. Yeah, it's a fresh lemony citrus, almost like lemon zest. It's not. See, what's happening is that slight edge that makes me think it's had colouring added to it is turning that citrusiness into not quite something like washing up liquid, where you get that lemoniness which is slightly artificial, and this isn't quite there, but there is an edge to it which is dangerously pushing it that way, but it's more of a lemon zest, and it's quite fresh. There's a malty underscore, but predominantly it's lemon zest more than anything else that I get on this, which is nice, but I wouldn't call it light and delicate. There is a richness, there is a depth to the nose as well as citrus. So let's see if that carries on the palate. It kind of does as well, actually. It feels kind of sparkling. There's a real effervescence to it, and there's the citrusiness, but then there's also kind of it's not quite sour, but it's like soda water, where there's this very dry sparkle to it, which is almost tannic. Quite unusual. There's some oakiness coming through now as well. There's not the maltiness that's there on the nose. This is very much it's quite a bright whiskey. It might be a little bit too sharp for some. It feels as though all the flavours are very much up here. So it's citrus and soda water and oak, but it's quite a sharp oakiness. There's not really much richness and depth kind of lower down in terms of like the mouthfeel is decent, but it's not silky. It's not. I mean, if I'm reading it right, it's bourbon cask, not sherry cask. But there's not much kind of fruit or fruitcake or depth or anything along those lines. This is very much kind of like sharper flavours in there. It really does have a bite to it. It really does have quite a sharp bite, which is not. It's not sour in an unpleasant way, but it's an unusual, considering the amount of Speysides I've had recently, which the majority of them, you can't generalise Speyside whiskey. They have all been different. But this really kind of is quite different to everything else in that this really is kind of sharper and drier, and like I say, it's not a deep, sweet, rich whiskey. This is very much you could quite easily put this with soda water as a long drink on a summer's day, and it would work really well because it would support the flavours of the soda water, but it would cut through with the alcohol and the citrusiness that's in there. I do like it. I think it's nice. I don't quite think it's to my taste, because you're probably aware if you've been watching quite a few of my videos, I tend to prefer, if not peaty versions, then richer, sweeter whiskies. And this is a little bit too on the dry side, but I do like it. I think it's a good whiskey, and I think if you're looking for something like that, it's definitely going to rock your boat. It's unusual and it's different. It's very, very different, and it's another one to kind of to put on a blind tasting, to say to people, where's this from? You know, what country is this from? Because it's not even classically Scotch. There is a bit of maltiness to it, but the lemon zest element would throw people. I think, I really do think, if you tried it blind, it would throw a lot of people. Yeah, it really does. It feels like it's got some soda water added to it as well, which as a long drink is great. I'm not a great fan of soda water, which is why I'm sort of a little bit hesitant on this, but if you do like your long drinks, if you like Scotch and soda and things like that, that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect, because you don't even need to add the soda. Good. Well, Megan, that was it. Megan, thank you very much for sending that through. Very interesting and quite an unusual Speyside, very much so. Right, I'm going to do a quick rinse out, and then I shall crack on with the next one, which will be released before this. Does that make sense? No, didn't think it did. Right, I'll see you then. Cheers.